Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Turin here, and today, guys, I'm here with another Dawn of War 3 1v1 match. In this game, I'm going to be playing the Space Marines, and I'm going to be facing off against the foul Eldar. This is probably the matchup I'm the least familiar with. It was definitely a very, very good learning lesson, and it was quite a back-and-forth battle, so hopefully you guys enjoy this one. I had a lot of fun, and let's jump right into the army compositions. And it's funny, interestingly enough, just like Total War Warhammer, this game does, in kind of its small micro way, have an army composition. So, I do have 3 doctrines, so before you load out into the game, essentially you can pick a doctrine. So you pick your elites, each of whom has their own unique perks, and then you can also pick 3 army doctrines. So for mine, I picked a tip of the spear. So the tip of the spear, essentially what it does is it makes it so your listening posts, which are your forward turrets that you place on these resource points, allow you to reinforce, and it also heals elite units. So it's very, very good. Instead of having to like run back to your barracks or any other healing posts, you can simply reinforce up at your listening posts. I like it quite a bit against the Eldar, and traditionally against like orcs and other Space Marine factions, a lot of time I'll get the upgraded listening post to give it more HP and damage. But against the Eldar, they can usually outrange it anyways and just poke it down. So I figure might as well give my troops more sustainability. So on top of that, I also do have slow death, which gives my tactical marines who I upgrade with the flamethrowers the ability to slow. The reason I get this against the Eldar is because Howling Banshees can be pretty aggressive early on, and the flamers, when they're upgraded, are an extremely hard counter to those guys and work out pretty well for me. So, and then lastly but not least, I have tireless. So this gives your tactical marines a speed when not in combat, which I really like. So again, some of you guys suggested it in the last videos, and I actually gave it a try, and it's really good. So you guys will notice my tactical marines are just like Usain Bolt. They're just like track stars. They just sprint around the map, which is really good for like early coverage and whatnot. So you can see my opponent here, he actually did rush some Howling Banshees, and he actually is able to kind of come over here and assassinate my builders. That was a very good early pick. Again, builders aren't free. They're very cheap. They only cost about 50 requisition, but if I have to spend 50 requisition right now, that puts me out of range for building another tactical marine squad. So interesting stuff. So essentially, I am building a listening post up here. It just finished, and I'm also upgrading my requisition here. And in the back line, I have secured this one. And since this is kind of like my deepest, furthest corner of the map, I decided to just kind of upgrade and go all out and get both the power and both the requisition on this one. My opponent, going with a very aggressive timing push, he has 2 groups of Dire Avengers and 1 group of the Howling Banshees. So I essentially just fall back to my listening post. Unfortunately, my tactical marines are getting pulled into melee, but I do drop my chapter banner, which gives them shields, if I'm not mistaken. It also knocks back these Howling Banshees, and it actually wards off his attack, which is really nice. Also, the Dire Avengers, something people don't know about them is they do use plasma technology. So essentially, if I'm not mistaken, when they're just like chain firing, they're very strong, but their weapons do overheat. I believe that green bar on the bottom indicates that, so then they can't shoot for a moment. So that's the one drawback of them. So again, very conducive with the Eldar style of hit and run, pretty strong stuff. So I had a drop pod loaded with tactical marines also, so I decided to drop that in there. I was trying to save it for like some tricky business and hoping he would overextend, but unfortunately he didn't, so I just dropped it there. So right now you can see I was able to reinforce some of these tactical marines here and actually heal them up using the tip of the spear with this building right here, which was quite nice. Back here I have all my requisition, and we're kind of mirroring each other. So my opponent has this corner of the map, he also has this requisition building up here, so we're both kind of claiming our stake in the lands, going out west, getting that gold going, having a good time. So right now I have 2 tactical squads, and I also have 2 servitors. So the servitors, I'm just kind of roaming around, capturing all these points, and I was a little bit hesitant to build down here right away and like start upgrading the requisition simply because my opponent had a very aggressive Howling Banshee start, and I didn't want to just get like overrun and beat down there and then lose out on those resources. So finally, I am sending these guys over because I know that I am going to have Kill Team Iron Maw. So if you guys look right here, you can see that this costs 2 elite points, Gabriel Angelos costs 4, and the Venerable Dreadnought. So he's basically just a heroic or an elite Dreadnought, which has some interesting abilities. Honestly, guys, my opinion, I don't think it's very good, but unfortunately you do need to play him or get experience as him to unlock one of the best Space Marine tactics, which allows your Assault Marines to do a low flyover and like chop people's heads off as they're flying. So unfortunately I had to pick him. I personally don't like him very much. I think it's a little slow and clunky. Granted, it is really strong and can do excellent work if the conditions of the battle are met, but again, not as big of a fan as I am of like the Assault Terminators who can teleport and have a little bit more mobility. So I go up here, I kind of prodded his shield generator. I was trying to get him into conflict here and see if I could draw anything out, but it looks like he does have some Dark Reapers. So Dark Reapers are basically like Devastator Marines. They set up, takes a moment to fire, but they do heavy damage. So you can see their DPS in range is 32, and it's true damage. So if you guys take note of that, each unit type has different types. True damage deals equivocal amount of damage to all targets. So it ignores heavy armor, light armor, whatever. It's going to do a great amount of damage. So I did build a group of Assault Marines over here. So these are the ones with the jump packs. Very, very good for capturing points. So my opponent is pressuring here, doing a little bit of work. So I fly in with my Assault Marines, get a very, very nice landing right on top of those troops. And you can see I am also dropping Kill Team Iron Maw back here. So he actually leaps, and then Kill Team Iron Maw comes and like, I thought it like knocked them out of their jump. But anyways, they do have a kind of a stun grenade, a vortex grenade. So it does HP damage, I think, damage over time. It's very, very good. So again, it slows those guys, allows me to do a little bit of damage, but these guys do have a shroud ability. Where is it right here? I forget what it's called, but they can like throw down a smoke screen and become invisible, which was really unfortunate because I thought I had a pretty easy kill there. So that engagement went very, very well for me, but unfortunately my opponent did get some Howling Banshees right here and pressured my back line. So he actually took an objective point during all that. So at the end of the day, I would say he came out pretty far ahead there. So I do build some scouts also. Scouts have a pretty nice little grenade toss here, which can stun units. And you can see I throw a stun grenade, lock these guys down, and then hopefully that allowed me to get this. I think he would have gotten away either way, but still it allows me to kill one of these elite units, actually 2 of them, which is great. So now he has to go reinforce those, and I'm able to get this Assault Marine out, who I can then reinforce using the tip of the spear passive. Unfortunately, in the back line, my opponent, you know, I felt like he had a little bit of an edge early. He got these Howling Banshees and was just pressuring my back line. So he's actually bold enough to build some requisition here, but his army is pretty scary, and you can see he actually has to run all the way back here to his webway assembly to reinforce these guys. But again, Eldar buildings, as the game progresses, they can actually move their buildings around and can relocate them, so let me go ahead and find that right here. So yeah, I'm not sure where it is on the tooltip. Yeah, that's mass recall. Yeah, I know there's some other tips they have that they can like actually move their buildings. I couldn't quite find it on that tooltip, but I know they can. So anyways, I do have my kill team Iron Maw. I also have 2 tactical marines who now have flamers. So if you guys see, it actually changes the icon on the bottom right. So now I have access to this flamer upgrade. Let's see if we can see, yeah, so you can see the cone of fire. So he comes around the corner with these Howling Banshees, but he does have the high ground here. I have the high ground down, so I get the flamethrowers going on here, and look at it just tear these guys apart. So not only does it just massacre those Howling Banshees, and I killed the entire squad, so they're gone. No more reinforcing, nothing. So that's a really good pick for me. Granted, he did do some really good damage, and this flamer just barely gets away, which is a really nice pick. Very, very well played by my opponent, having those Dark Reapers on the high ground. They did quite a bit of value, and if anything, we might have came out somewhat even there, actually. So over here on the far side, I did send some Assault Marines down here to deal with these Howling Banshees. They're able to make pretty short work of them because they did get the initiative. They fly in, you know, they knock them back, and then they attack while the other troops are getting up. So if you get the initiative like that, they can do pretty well. So my opponent is going to lose, you know, some resources down here because he did upgrade this. He actually invested some money down here. So that was a pretty good little pick here. So I do fall back to this listening post. I'm healing up my kill team Iron Maw. I'm trying to reinforce my troops. I throw a stun grenade over here to kind of zone, but he gets a very good leap in with the, I forget what these guys are called. I think they're called like the something scorpions. But anyways, they jump in there. I do throw that fragmentation grenade, and I get some Assault Marines back here trying to come help out. But I leap in because I wanted to intercept and kind of shut down some of these Dark Reapers in the back line. So my Assault Marines push back with my opponent. This is what I'm saying. The shields haven't even been penetrated here at all. So a very, very strong unit. They only cost 2, so they're very similar in terms of like power level to Kill Team Iron Maw. But you can see I get a good flame on them. Unfortunately, you can't like rotate. Wherever you start shooting is where it stays. And he is trying to assassinate my heroic unit here. But I get a stun grenade, do some pretty good damage. And something that's really cool about Kill Team Iron Maw, hopefully it doesn't die here so I can show you guys, but they have the option to actually upgrade to flamethrowers or rockets. So it's called, I forget, some Fury Tactics or something like that, and then Malleus Tactics, which gives you the rocket launcher. It's very strong. So anyways, I kill his elite unit back here. So that's a great pick because that puts it on cooldown, and I still have my elite unit here, but I was a little bit sloppy with my micro. I actually just sent it back up because I assumed it had a little bit more health than it did. And you can see he automatically has that flamethrower, but unfortunately my opponent being a pretty solid player, he actually just targets it down. So huge mistake on my part, huge blunder, but guys, it's all part of the, learning the game and everything. But on that same coin, I'm able to come over here and recapture this point. So I'm actually building requisition here, and I do have my Assault Marines who are able to get into the back line and are just cutting up his requisition, doing a very, very good job in the back line there. So quite a wild back and forth cockfight henceforth. It's been a great game. So right now I'm just reinforcing all my troops. It was a huge blunder right there. Of like, if I'd been able to keep Kill Team Iron Maw and just reinforce them there, I think I could have done a timing push over here because he was out in elite. Like, he didn't have any elite presence there, and I could have came in and gotten those goodies. So big misplay, cost me a big initiative in this game, but still, it is what it is. So in the back line, I do capture him with these, not capture him, but I capture his point here with these Assault Marines. I was pretty happy about that, but he is sending some Dire Avengers who are a pretty quick unit. The Webway Assemblies actually give their units movement speed, if I'm not mistaken. The Eldar are the one faction I don't know at all. Like, I'm still learning them quite a bit. This was like one of my best experiences against them. So he does have these Dark Reapers up here. They do really good damage against like most things if they're able to set up. So they actually kill one of my Assault Marines, but thankfully I'm able to get these guys back, and I'm just simply going to go reinforce them now. So I was feeling pretty confident about that situation. My opponent, very good about using the high ground, though. He's always like scurrying around in the rafters. Very, very true, I suppose, to the Eldar way. Though the Howling Banshees are excellent melee. So I got a little bit greedy, poked back into here, was like, oh, can I get this? But no, he was all over that funny business. He probably suspected that from a mile away. So over here in the back, I'm just kind of reinforcing the barracks. It does have a healing aura, and then it also allows you to reinforce. Whereas this one, it only, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, I guess it does have a healing aura as well. I wasn't sure if it healed and reinforced, but I know it heals elite units. So I do have a little bit of a goon squad here. So I have a tactical marine squad with the flamers. I have this injured group here with the jetpacks of the Assault Marines, and I actually have 2 scouts. So I like the scouts against the Eldar. I need to get a little bit better with them. I'm not terribly familiar, but they're very cheap. As far as their DPS, it's only 11. It's very, very low, but they do have a stun grenade, which is good against like factions that are fast, mobile, annoying, in and out, all that kind of stuff. And you can see my flamers. I'm trying to chase them down right here and get like a flamethrower on these guys. So for some reason it went on cooldown. I think I accidentally like pressed it, and then like I screwed up the button somehow. So unfortunately he gets like free kills. I was hoping to like force him into that combat there, but I do get my scouts over here. I got a nice little arc on these Dire Avengers up here. Excuse me, Dark Reapers, and then my Assault Marines also get in there. I get a really solid stun grenade, just knock those guys down, just some awesome stuns. You can see my Scout Goon Squad and then also my Tactical Marines here doing pretty good, but still, he has a full group of Howling Banshees who are in great shape, and they're actually able to push back my Assault Marines here. And it looks like he's able to kind of kill those guys and clean them up, which is a huge bummer. But these Dark Reapers up here are taking some casualties, so it's not a completely one-sided trade. But my opponent got a very, very good timing. He got Maka out. So Farseer Maka is like kind of their equivalent to Gabriel Angelos in terms of power level. It's very strong. She can throw a spear, she can recall it, so it does huge damage. Of course, she has shields. She also has a Psyker Blast, so she can run into melee, do like a big AoE blast, and it does like massive amounts of damage. It's pretty insane. So she's incredibly strong. Great utility, good poke, very strong, you know, up close with her Psyker Blast. She's able to drive back my troops pretty handily here. So I do summon Kill Team Iron Mob, but unfortunately, he has 2 elites right now. He has the Striking Scorpions is what they're called, and then Farseer Maka. So he has a huge advantage. I actually throw that stun grenade in there, do a little bit of poke with these guys, and I did upgrade the tactics. And can you see what they are? Unfortunately, I already upgraded, so we can't see, but still, I did get a little bit of a grenade in there, but it didn't do much other than, you know, harm his shield. So unfortunately, my opponent has a very kind of commanding position on the board now. He's been able to take this point in the bottom. Looks like in the middle, he is starting to upgrade this. So again, I've been reaping pretty good resources over here. I'm well upgraded here. Right here, I'm also upgrading to another tier. And in the back, at my barracks, I believe I just started my upgrade to tier 2, which allows you to get dreadnoughts, las cannons, machine cult, as well as the deaths. I think it gives you another drop. Yes, it does. So it gives you each tier that you upgrade, 3 tiers being, you know, the total amount, you get another drop pod. So you can get some really fancy plays later on with like triple drop pods. You can put harass units in there. You can put dreadnoughts and drop them like in the middle of the opponent's troops. There's some really neat stuff you can do with the drop pod play. So definitely one of the reasons I like the Space Marines the most. They're just so much fun with the drop pods. Like the orcs are cool. I really enjoyed them in the beta, but the Space Marines just have this really like fun, aggressive playstyle. Very dynamic, somewhat similar to the Empire in what's it called, in Total War Warhammer. So again, the one difference obviously being that in a game where you only have 3 factions, it's much easier to balance, and you know, in Total War Warhammer, it's a little bit trickier. So over here, he does kind of just sitting on this point, just controlling it. So I'm trying to like force him off this point here. So I go in, get a little bit of harass, and my army's really thin right now, though. I just have some tactical Marines with a flamer, a scout, but guys, I do finally get Gabriel Angelo. So he is just an absolute beast. So my opponent, unfortunately, killing my shield generator here, and I have learned since my last cast that when shield generators die, he gets elite points, he gets a bunch of goodies. So I throw a stun grenade down there, kind of lock these guys down, but unfortunately, he does get a Striking Scorpions, and I did send Gabriel up here to go after these Dark Reapers, which is a good choice. He's going to kill them, and you know, they're a very high value unit. They do a lot of damage, so you can't let them sit unimpeded. But unfortunately, I really needed him to like help down here versus these Striking Scorpions, but I do have the Flamer from the Kill Team Iron Mob, kind of roasting them a little bit, but they're incredibly tanky. They're doing some really good work, and my scouts are in here kind of up close, unfortunately, because I was very busy microing Gabriel, trying to kill these units on the high ground. And he was doing a good job of that. You can see he's kind of whomping on these guys, just destroying these dire Avengers, doing great work. But Maka, this whole time, been doing pretty good work, and he does have like this very aggressive, you know, group in my face. Gabriel's doing okay. He's kind of like holding the line. But on that same coin, my opponent getting these Howling Banshees over here, and I did get some Scout Snipers to come and help. But, you know, I was losing a lot. But my opponent did lose the back. I was able to take this point and kill all of his requisition on that one, because that was one of his most heavily upgraded ones, but he trades with me and actually takes this with some of the Howling Banshees. So just going tit for tat, matching, you know, every play. Very, very well played in pretty much every respect here. So Gabriel continuing to just go pretty ham here. He's chasing down Farseer Maka, and this was a really good situation. If I'm able to kill her, that's going to be quite nice. But unfortunately, he gets a really good like grenade or something there. So I'm really trying to get Maka, but she's, you know, a little bit faster than Gabriel, I would think. Gabriel's in here fighting. I definitely don't want to lose him here, so my opponent does use the Shroud, which allows these Striking Scorpions to get away. Of course, the Eldar way, very sneaky, very swift. But thankfully, you know, I was able to kind of stabilize a little bit. He didn't have too much. Like, he had, like, these troops here. And, you know, but still, I did take a lot of losses, and Gabriel's pretty beat up. But I do have Gabriel now. Kill Team Iron Maw is on a somewhat short cooldown. It's only 104 seconds left until they're back. So right now, I just needed to kind of stabilize on this back point here. And I did send some scouts over here to kind of harass and just see what was going on, see if they're still there. Unfortunately for me, the Howling Banshees were still up there. So these guys are taking a beating. But Big Daddy Gabriel's coming back. He's got his Pimp Hammer out. He's definitely going to do some pretty good work against these Howling Banshees. And you guys will see. With the God Splitter, which is his leap ability, it does like land and stuff. Essentially, it's the Haggard front flip that everybody loves. He flies, and then his W is the knockback, which does good damage. So you can see it stuns all these guys, does some pretty good damage, and then his W here, look at the damage this does. Boom, it just wrecks that whole squad. You can see their body parts flying everywhere. He comes in there and just crushes that last Howling Banshee. So Gabriel's very, very good against Eldar, kind of getting in their range units and fending off their Banshees, which is quite nice. So let's go ahead and take a look at requisition. So right now I'm getting 365, and if we look at my opponent, he's getting 569. So huge, huge advantage for my opponent. And one of the issues, again, is I'm going to have this Venerable Dreadnought coming up soon, but guys, he actually has a Wraith Knight, which is like one of the strongest units in the game. So with the way this is looking and kind of how it's going into the late game, like I'm going to be at a pretty big disadvantage. And if he kills this shield generator, which he most certainly is right now, he's going to get extra elite points. You can see right now he's at 2. So let's actually sit here and watch and kind of like see what he gets. But he's at 2 right now. And I believe I'm at 2 also. So let's go ahead and take a look here. I'm at 1, so I'm a little bit behind. I believe he does have this point here, although he didn't upgrade this elite point, so he's not really reaping a benefit, but he does kill the shield generator, taking him up to 3. So I think it just gave him a elite point, which is still good. I mean, getting him that much closer to his final elite. Because you don't need to use elite points to resummon elite units. They just come back over a periodic amount of time after you summon them the first time. But, you know, again, it gets him that much closer to the Wraith Knight, which is going to be one of the scariest things for me to deal with, like, hands down. So, anyways, my troops are kind of just rolling around the map. I'm just trying to get my bearings. You can see over here, I resecure this with my servitor here, and I'm going to be building some requisition on those bad boys. My opponent, very wisely, camping in the shield here, just kind of chilling, waiting for me. I do have Kill Team Iron Maw back, which is, you know, a pretty nice little gimme there. They're very good. Kill Team Iron Maw is probably one of my favorite units. You can see my scout snipers over here doing a little bit of harass. Whenever you're on your back foot, it doesn't hurt to have a group of scout snipers. Granted, Eldar can focus them down really easily, but they do a lot of damage against like lightly armored units. And if I'm not mistaken, let's go and take a look at Maka. So she actually has normal armor, so she will take quite a bit of damage from these scout snipers. So I do get Kill Team Iron Maw, and here we go. So Malleus tactics and Fur tactics. I think that's how you pronounce that. But anyways, they can get flamethrowers or they can get like rocket launchers, which deal with armor piercing. Really awesome. So late game, these guys, like a single group of these guys, can do really good damage against like heavily armored Wraith Knights and you know all those kind of scary armored units that the Eldar have. Every faction pretty much has like heavy late game units, so you know again it's not like one. I mean, I think some factions actually have more, but for the most part it's pretty balanced across the board. So over here I did get an Assault Marine. I tried to do a little bit of harass, but my opponent was just leaving Dire Avengers here. He definitely learned his lesson because we both lost like a lot of points like this whole game. So right now, just a little bit of posturing. I'll just go ahead and fast forward because for the most part, we're just kind of like both healing, rebuilding forces. You can see my opponent's just kind of getting a fat goon squad up here. I'm doing the same thing. I'm healing up Gabriel. I have my scout snipers in position, and I was behind. So I was just like doing everything I could to just try and stabilize. But right now, I catch some of his guys off guard here, and I actually do get a flamethrower on them and just absolutely roast them. So that was a really nice pick. I got 2 groups essentially for free. He comes in for my shield generator, but he doesn't have like a lot of oomph here, so I should be able to get back and stop him. And I just got those 2 groups for free. So that's one of the advantages of just like pressuring multiple points all across the map, is that my opponent's kind of become a little bit nervous about it. You know, he's kind of allocating forces, you know, all over the place. And something that you guys have to be aware of with the Flamer, you need to move him a little bit closer. It's still hitting just on the edge, but I would advise, like, I actually was moving down here to try and stop these guys. So they actually got caught on these guys over here, which was a little bit of a mistake. But you can see Maka comes in pretty hot. I do have my scout snipers here kind of poking at her, and you can see she takes some pretty big damage, and Gabriel's going to get in there and just smash. Like, Gabriel will wreck her in a straight-up duel. I mean, he has a ton of HP. He's meant for kind of pounding. Unfortunately, I did kind of knock her away from my troops here, but regardless, she probably would have gotten away. She's pretty swift. You can see my Assault Marines over here. I actually pick off one of his barracks, which was quite nice. That's definitely going to be very annoying for him to rebuild, as it does cost power, and power is one of the more limiting resources as the games go on. But I do get my Flamers over here and kind of roast the last of his troops. Unfortunately, he does kill that shield generator, which is a huge setback. He gets resources, and then he also gets another elite point. So he's that much closer to getting the Wraith Knight, which I'm sure you guys will be very excited to see. And if the duration of the game is any tell as to the Wraith Knight's appearance, then you guys are in for a treat here. So he gets his striking scorpions in, but again, he's just trying to get away. So I'm just kind of roasting these guys, and I actually do have this heroic tactical marine. So I stun him with Gabriel, and then he gets his flamethrower right here and starts, which actually slows, which is great. So I actually slow these guys down, and Gabriel's just laying the beat down on them. Unfortunately, one of them does get away. I was so bummed. I was that close to picking those guys off. So happened quite a bit. Kind of the story of fighting the Eldar. A lot of things get away because that's kind of the nature of their playstyle. So again, he has these Dark Reapers up on the high ground, just kind of poking me, doing that true damage to Gabriel. Very, very well played by my opponent. So over here, again, things are kind of exposed. He does have, looks like he has a webway gate here, which gives his units speed nearby. And let's see what else it does. So he can connect webways. Okay, so portal between this structure and target structure, which is very cool. So you can like teleport units there pretty quickly. But yeah, neat stuff. So over here, I'm just kind of like going back here. I actually built a barracks up here in case I lost this. I wanted to have like a forward point to like fall back and heal on. And in the back, I do have a machine cult. So right now, I'm actually building the, what's it called? The land speeder. Is that what it's actually called? I got to double check. I'm still like learning all the names here. Yeah, it's a land speeder. Okay. So land speeder, very, very good for harass, very annoying. I would say it's a little bit better against like other factions other than Eldar, because the Eldar have like a lot of range and they can kind of like poke at it. Whereas like the orcs and the greenskins, you know, they have a lot of trouble keeping up with this thing. But I do have this. I'm going to go around and start using it to like recapture points. I do have a little bit of a scary goon squad here. Unfortunately, I only have 3 elite points, guys, which is a huge bummer. And let's go ahead and take a look at my opponent. Yeah, he has 7. So he's going to have his Wraith Knight so soon, guys. It was just so scary. So over here, I'm like kind of pushing up. I wish I had like known this was here. I should have just scouted. But anyways, my opponent is coming down from the high ground here. I do have my Assault Marines who jump up here and get a great engagement. But unfortunately, he had a ton of Howling Banshees. My opponent is way ahead of me on resources right now. Like way, way ahead. So I'm like fighting a downhill battle. But I dropped my banner, which gives me a shield. It knocks back his striking scorpions, and I am now using Gabriel to kind of like defend my back line. So I have the flamethrowers on these Howling Banshees. I do have his W, which knocks everything back, which is quite good. And I actually do have another drop pod coming in here hot in the back. So a drop pod comes in with more Assault Marines. These guys in the back line are going to do some serious damage. So they actually surround Maka and are doing some really good pressure, but still, my opponent just had sheer numbers on me. His income is so much better. I actually have 537. Let's see if we've kind of equalized a little bit against his, 799. Granted, that in this game, there is like, and Gabriel gets a nice little knockback as he retreats, which actually probably saved him there. As your army gets bigger, essentially, it's kind of like Warcraft 3. There's like an upkeep, so the bigger your army, the like less money you reap from your points. So it gives your opponents a bit of a chance to come back, but still, even despite the upkeep, my opponent is doing pretty well financially ahead of me. Gabriel's really beat up. I'm probably going to have to yield his barracks. And that's one of the risks with like forward points is you are going to lose those type of things. But guys, this land speeder, I actually upgraded it with the multi-melta, which gives it like an extra burst damage that does, well against heavy armor. So, and let's actually see, is this thing heavily armored? It actually doesn't show if it has heavy armor or not. But anyways, I kill all his requisition points here. I believe I killed one of his requisitions. I'm not sure if I killed this, but I do have this. No, I didn't. So I have the Assault Marines coming down here to kind of clean it up to one Assault Marine. And this land speeder just doing great work. So I'm ninjing all his back points here, which is, one of the only chances I have to get back in the game. Unfortunately, I did have some scouts kind of building here who are, a little bit trapped here. So I throw a stun grenade and try and like run into the shroud, but they're probably not long for this world. So back here, I'm just trying to get my bearings. I do have these flamers online because I know he was just spamming Howling Banshees at this point in the game. So it's like, okay, I need to get some flamethrowers to kind of roast him a little bit. But still, very, very good harass from this land speeder. It's doing some serious work back there. I definitely cannot complain, guys. It's just been a great battle. I mean, my opponent definitely knows how to play the Eldar very well, and taught me some pretty good lessons on how to face off against him, what works, what doesn't. I did have my scout snipers on the high ground earlier. Unfortunately, I forgot to pull them back, so they do get picked off here, but they did their job. They did some good work, and you can see my land speeder comes in here, and look how fast they can actually get away. So even the Eldar with their poke, I can still scurry away, but the Dark Reapers did some good damage to it. So just kind of riding around, trolling a little bit, trying to stress out my opponent as much as I can. Anytime in an RTS when you're at a disadvantage, always try and force your opponent to multitask as much as possible. So again, I do get this guy over here. He's doing a little bit of harass against his Bone Singer, but the ultimate objective was getting up here and kind of pressuring this. You can see my opponent's Goon Squad is chasing indeed. But back here, I actually captured this point, and I wasn't sure if it was a good idea, but I was like, what, let's build some requisition in case he forgets about it for a minute, so maybe I can get some money, but definitely was a bad idea. So, I'm kind of back on my hind legs now. I had to pull back to my main keep here. Things were looking pretty grim. I did have an Assault Marine squad here. I had one, Tactical Marine squad, who is upgrading their flamers, and I was just going for a mass roasting squad, because hoping you would run in, because flamers are one of those things that if your opponent screws up, you can get huge value and just absolutely punish them. So just something to take into note, and I was doing my best to do that. So over here, my opponent on the high ground just resecuring his points. I was able to do some pretty good work. He does resecure this, and you can see my speeder. They're so annoying. The speeders like to play against, and look at that. I actually killed a Paris right there, which is great. So it's just kind of rolling around, just riding dirty, and with the multi-melta, just look at the burst damage it can do to buildings. So again, I've seen some strategies where people get 2, 3, 4 of these and just run around and be really annoying. But guys, the Doom has come to my world. He has the Wraith Knight. So the Wraith Knight has a jump, which is like a power slide, and look at it, just two-shot. And this other land speeder is like, oh shit, I gotta get out of here. So this thing's fleeing right here. So it has a distortion rift. The Wraith Knight opens up a rift at the target position, causes knockback towards the center of the expanding circle. It slows vehicles. It also has a beam, this thing does tons of damage, and of course it does have the fancy jump, which you guys all love. So I do get over here. Unfortunately, my beast here is kind of getting caught by some of these Howling Banshees, and I just noticed it was being attacked because I was trying to micro elsewhere. So I pull it back, but unfortunately he did position his Wraith Knight up here, so I'm like, oh god, I'm just trying to take every angle I can to get out of here. But these guys have pretty cool terrain, and just look how irritating this is. I'm just running around, and it's occupying this Wraith Knight, and he could just be pushing right down the pipe right now, doing tons of work, but he's allowing me to get some troops. So over here I do have the 2 groups of flamers, and if we switch back to my my kind of position here, the slow death, it immobilizes vehicles. So that even means the Wraith Knight, guys. I can immobilize the Wraith Knight, which is incredible. So over here, he does get some of these Howling Banshees coming in here. He does use his little silence, but I still get the Flamer off, which is going to roast these guys. And you can see it does some huge damage to these guys, which is great. So Gabriel gets in there. He's going balls deep. He gets a nice little knock. He gets his W, which knocks all those guys back and does some great damage. I was very happy about that little engagement there. I was able to kill some units and resecure my center point in some fashion. But unfortunately, Big Daddy's coming, the Wraith Knight, and I'm just so far behind. I only have 6. This is where, when you get to late game, I went with more of an early game pick, and you guys will see the Venerable Dreadnought in action, but if I had Celeria, or even the Assault Terminators, I feel like I could have done a little bit better, but man, he was just doing some serious work here with this Wraith Knight. Just coming in here, has really good range, doesn't do the most damage per se, but yeah, I guess this building is pretty sturdy, the power generator. It has over 1,000 HP, but it does have the 112 armor piercing. Its melee is true, and it does have the power slide, which is pretty incredible, so my opponent is coming in here and tearing those goodies up. I do have my speeder and some scouts kind of waiting in auxiliary because I wanted to just come get his goodies over here. And I am kind of, look how like skimpy my army is. So can we look at army supply? So I have 33 to his 79. So I literally have like half of his army supply right now. He's getting resources from this point here. He's getting them from over here. He's just getting all the goodies. So definitely a very, very tough situation for me. You can see my scouts are going on a little bit of a Mission Impossible run, and they do have a stealth until they like, but something reveals them. I think they have some sort of a structure that revealed them or something. So it can't be seen by enemies. Yeah, see, I think they got detected. I think there was some sort of attack. So I actually didn't know that. So unfortunately, you know, I do get kind of picked off here as I was running around trying to harass his back line. But he does come in here with the Wraith Knight. So what I did end up dropping here was these guys with the Devastator Heavy Bolters. Unfortunately, I meant to get the las cannons to work on this Wraith Knight, but unfortunately he's doing his power slide. But he does take that turret fire, which is pretty nice. It does a little bit of shields damage, but these guys will be pretty good against these troops here. And with my Kill Team Iron Maw, I actually do upgrade the Malleus tactics. And Gabriel's doing a pretty good job here, kind of beating on this thing. And you can see it's taking a ton of HP damage. I do have the plasma upgrade on these Marines, which gives them true damage, which is really, really nice. And Gabriel's just doing work, and you guys can see I have the Malleus tactics now. So what I do here is I get my tactical squad with the Flamers, and it essentially gets a last chance. A lot of the Eldar units have that. It's very annoying to deal with. So essentially it gets like a second life, but I get my Flamers and I roast it, and look, it immobilizes the Wraith Knight. It actually locks it down, which is incredible. So I'm locking it down. My Malleus troops here are kind of shooting at it, doing armor-piercing damage, and down goes the Wraith Knight. So Gabriel, Angelos, and the Blood Ravens are able to kind of fend off that Eldar offensive. And guys, this in many ways can be the turning of the tide. I do get this Venerable Dreadnought who's coming out here. He has a maximal charge, which is kind of like a heavy, you know, percent damage, armor piercing. It just does a ton of damage, and he can actually pick up and toss debris. It's a little bit clunky, that mechanic. I didn't like the tossing mechanic that much, but I'm pushing in here with my Dreadnought. My Marines are getting in here. My Flamers are on cooldown. It would have been really nice, but my opponent does use an Eldritch Storm. So this is essentially the equivalent of their orbital bombardment. Let's actually go ahead and take a look here. So yeah, so it's the Eldritch Storm. It does tons of work, so it's slowing my units. You can see though the Dreadnought is very, very tanky. It's sitting in that thing no problem. And Gabriel's knocking back his troops, and I'm doing like, I'm pulling back, I'm knocking back his troops. I'm kind of using the Dreadnought to just take a beating here. And you know, things are actually going pretty good. I'm getting more of my tactical squads. I'm getting more Flamers online. In the back, I tried to get a little bit of harass with those speeders, I think, but unfortunately I think he was able to kill those, which is, you know, a little bit too bad. But still, you can see the Venerable Dreadnought doing some great work, actually. You know, just punishing these guys. It actually kills an elite unit there. Him and Gabriel is just tag teaming these troops. And let's actually see what his DPS is. So if we mouse over him here, oh wow, we went up to like 6,400 there for a second. But anyway, 71 DPS with his armor piercing, and then in melee is 44 DPS, which is pretty heavy. And yeah, just an absolute beast. So Gabriel's very low, so I do the front flip of doom to get him away because my opponent does have some Dark Reapers up here trying to snipe him out. The Dreadnought, you essentially heal with Servitors, but still, I felt like I didn't have time to go back and heal because I seized a huge advantage there. So I essentially needed to go around and capture as much as I could. So my opponent kind of running with his tail between his legs right now. The army size on mine is 35 to his he still has 70 though. So just goes to show with that resource advantage, he's just kind of pumping it out. But I'm doing some serious work. I do have these heavy Devastators in the back who've just been tearing apart his infantry. I do have the Malleus Tactics team, Kill Team Iron Maw. And yeah, just so many new names for me. My apologies. And of course, the Venerable Dreadnought over here is kind of helping capture some points. And Gabriel, I did send back to the base to heal. So he's back at the main base healing. Again, I didn't want to lose him because elites, like maintaining your elites is very important in this game. Like especially late game as you get going. Early game, it's a little more forgiving because there's only like one enemy elite usually. But like in general, it's a big deal to keep those guys alive. So right now, I'm just sweeping across the map. I didn't even, like, I should have, like, left a servitor or something, but I wanted to just shut down his resources. Because, again, I knew I probably wouldn't have the kind of ability to, like, seize these right now. So I was just moving around, just shutting down everything I could, trying to pick any units across the map. Because this was, like, my window to shine here. So I get my Assault Marines up, and I actually use the Flamer trying to roast those guys. Get a nice little slow over here, and you can see the Venerable Dreadnought, and the guys are just laying huge damage, because I actually do have the Plasma upgrade, which gives them true damage. It's really nice. So, Tactical Marines late game can be made pretty effective, and it also works in tandem with the Venerable Dreadnought. So you guys can't see it right now, but one of his elite doctrines is when it's deployed, Tactical Marines plasma guns don't overheat. Like I mentioned earlier, plasma technology overheats, but when he's out, it doesn't. So I was kind of experimenting a little bit with that, and you can see that my speeder here, with the multi-melta, is able to solo a listening post. He's able to just, like, take it out all by himself, which is great. So I'm going to kind of shut my opponent's resources down here. He does come in pretty hot with some of these guys. He does have the Striking Scorpions, but the Venerable Dreadnought is just a monster in melee. I mean, all Dreadnoughts are for the most part, and it's just going to absolutely beat these guys down. So he's trying to snipe out my Kill Team Iron Maw, which is, you know, pretty well played. So I do just throw that grenade there, but you can see that the Venerable Dreadnought uses his maximal charge and, like, one-shots that entire group. It does a ton of damage. So I do have this tactical squad over here with the plasma kind of capturing this point. So guys, I have secured both points now in the middle. Granted, I'm not reaping resources, so my opponent in terms of finances is probably still ahead. I have 91 requisition against his 860. So he's not spending them terribly efficiently, but still he has so much more to spend, whereas like what you see is what I got at this point. So doing a little bit of a decent job kind of coming back there. My speeder over here is cleaning up these points. Let's go ahead and take a look at the new requisition back to back. So 578 against my opponent's 907. So even despite that kind of a victory there, my opponent is still outproducing me pretty heavily. And now that I killed a lot of his army, his upkeep isn't going to be as bad. So he's going to be able to rebuild his army very quick with that surplus of resources. So over here, he now is getting into his like next level of tech. He's getting what you call the Wraith Guard. So the Wraith Guard are like heavy range units. They have armor piercing DPS. So they're like very, very good against most of the like Dreadnought tech, all those kind of things. Like if he has like several groups of them, and they're incredibly hard to kill too. They have tons of HP. They have 900 health, 1600 shields, and are just linebackers. They're just incredibly hard to deal with. So the Venerable Dreadnought's in a little bit of trouble. And Gabriel Angelus, let's actually see what kind of armor he has. I've often been curious about that. So he actually has normal armor, so he's not going to like take like an exceptional amount from him, I suppose, or have his armor pierced. Let's just say that. So in here, I'm actually kind of pressuring a shield generator. I do get some las cannons finally. So las cannons are essentially anti-armor. So they're going to be very good against these Wraith Knights here. And these are actually the Wraith Blades, which are like, you have Wraith Guard and then you have Wraith Blades. So the Wraith Blades are basically just like the melee variant. They're very tanky, very good in the front line, kind of similar to like Terminators in a way. But regardless, they get in there. But you can see the las cannons just putting those guys down. The las cannons are incredibly strong. So I was like, okay, if I can get this shield generated, I might be in okay shape. But he had this very heavy firing squad back there, and he was also using this shield right here to shield himself and keep me from getting in there and doing a little bit of work. So I fall back. Over here on the far side, though, my land speeder was pushing. I should have repaired it, though. I was like, I wonder if it can get the second one down, but unfortunately, it looks like his listening post is going to be able to kill it. Is it? Let's see. Oh, it's so close. It has 29 HP, and this thing is like incredibly close to being dead as well. So unfortunately, I think my land speeder is probably going to die here, and that was really tight. But anyways, he was going to kill it with these troops coming. So still great advantage here. I'm rebuilding. I'm getting 195 from this. Back here, I haven't invested yet to kind of rebuild there, but I definitely will be soon. You can see I have some resources coming down. Over here, you can see my main army is kind of just regrouping here. So I was building a listening post so I could reinforce, but just look how big his army is. Like, it's already back in action and ready to party. So I turn around here. Gabriel is going to, use his knockback. He knocks back those Howling Banshees. I do have a little bit of a good concave here. I have my heavy bolters, so I pull them back. I have the Malleus team kind of shooting back here, going after some of his Wraith Blades. And the Dreadnought in melee is taking quite a bit of damage, but you can see he actually like toss those guys, which is pretty cool looking. But still, I would have loved to have Assault Terminators instead, just in his back line, just carrying it up. He has a very healthy firing line, and it's funny, he's actually keeping his Howling Banshees and Auxiliary, like, waiting for me to pressure with, like, Gabriel, and he's just using his Wraith Guards to kind of, like, shoot and poke me down back here. But the las cannons are doing pretty good damage against these guys, but still not enough to, like, really just kind of push it home. So he pushes in here, tries to assault my units back here, but I use my W and just wreck those Howling Banshees, and I do have a very strong firing line. And also, the Venerable Dreadnought doesn't have terrible range DPS. Well, that's actually one of its strengths. It has 71. So it's shooting in here, doing some great damage to some of these guys. You can see their shields are getting down to half health, and I also do use his Focus Charge here, the maximal charge, and do a ton of damage to these guys. So very, very good stuff. Unfortunately, he is going to probably be able to snipe my Kill Team Ironmaw here. You can see Maka snipes him, but not before going down herself. So very atrocious fight. I believe I did lose. Did I lose Gabriel? Let's go ahead and take a look. So I did lose Gabriel to kind of the sniping of these guys, but thankfully the Venerable Dreadnought is still online, and things aren't, as bad as they might seem. So I really wish I'd like paid attention to these guys up here. These would have been some easy pickings, as they say. But I did kill some of his points back here. I killed the requisition points back here. I'm kind of securing my back line. So if you look at the resources right now, I'm actually at 370 as opposed to, so I'm still way behind. My opponent has like had much more time to upgrade, whereas I'm just like desperately pumping out units, trying to like get back in the game. So I'm not upgrading my, elite points like I should, because again, there are additional tiers of upgrading. If we take a look here, this one is upgraded, but the other ones are like fairly underdeveloped, and he is getting some really good flanking maneuvers over here. So let's go ahead and fast forward a little bit, kind of just get things rolling. So some of my troops over here, I do send some scouts, but unfortunately, he had this really good high ground position. This was very well played. I should have just like dealt with him, but he picks off a group of my snipers. I do throw a stun grenade trying to poke him down a little bit, but obviously scouts are pretty terrible in sustained combat. So he is going to get those picks there, which is unfortunate. Down here on the far side, he's able to kind of clean up. Definitely, he just has more troops, and he has a Wraith Knight, so I'm having to be like defensive and just keep my army together. You can see I have some servitors healing my Venerable Dreadnought here, and let's actually slow it down because there's about to be another fight here in just a moment. So he actually does engage on this listening post, so I go in here pretty hot. I get my Plasma Marines kind of shooting in here, doing that true damage, and I also do have my las cannons focusing these guys, which is great. The las cannons are going to do pretty heavy damage to those guys. The Venerable Dreadnought coming over trying to help out, but he is very, very slow. Unlike the Assault Terminators, he doesn't have a teleport ability, so he actually has to waddle around the map. What's cool is you can like bring a bunch of servitors to heal him, and it makes him somewhat difficult to, to kill. So over here, my heavy bolters are doing pretty good work against his Dark Reapers, and I've gotten them down for the most part. You can see I actually do drop that bomb over there and just wreck those guys, which was awesome. And let's see if there's any harass going on the map. Unfortunately not, and man, Big Daddy was just such a nightmare for me this game. Just look at him walking around, just all triumphant and erect, just doing his thing. And my elite units are offline right now. If we take a look at my opponents, Maka is offline, but he does have the Striking Scorpions as well as this Wraith Knight. And one of the reasons earlier I was able to kill the Wraith Knight is because he overextended very aggressively, but now he's kind of keeping his army together, being very conservative, and you can see these Tactical Marines are like, oh god, this is going to suck. So my Venerable Dreadnought here is putting up a little bit of a fight, kind of fending these guys off. I was just trying to kill as much of my opponent's stuff, but my troops are just so tattered, and he does have the Striking Scorpions leaping in. But I do drop my banner here, or excuse me, Kill Team Iron Man, but unfortunately, just he respawns by getting that power slide. Just the jukebox hero getting in there, doing his work. My Kill Team Iron Man here, I'm about to upgrade the Malleus tactics. You can see I do now have this rocket launcher, and I'm trying to focus this guy down and do as much damage as I possibly can. But he does have Wraith Blades coming in, so you can see he does that Vortex, which pulls all my troops in, which is brutal. But he just had so much more money than me, and he had this like very healthy firing line back there, which is bad. But I do drop a Death Storm. So a Death Storm is essentially a drop pod, which does like a ton of AoE damage. But he saved just right when I dropped it. He actually used his Focus Beam, which does immense damage, and it actually instantly killed my Death Storm, which would have done huge work against all these troops. So I do drop my Orbital Bombardment here, and you can see I actually pick up these Wraith Blades, and I'm doing really good damage to these guys. So I was going to try and chase this guy down, but he was already running, so I was like, okay, I better just kill these Wraith Guard here. So I actually get some really good kills on these very, very expensive Wraith Blades here, which was quite nice. But still, for the most part, my opponent came out pretty heavily, in advantage there. And at this point, I'm just like desperately trying to send some Assault Marines around the map. And you guys see how their blades are glowing? That means that I have upgraded. If we go here and look, you can't actually see it once it's upgraded, but they essentially, you can upgrade their swords, which give them true damage. It's really, really nice for like late game harass, because it allows them to do more damage to buildings and different things like that. So at this point, I'm pretty much offline. We'll go ahead and fast forward a little bit. I didn't want to quit. I definitely wanted to put up as much of a fight as I could, but for the most part, my opponent's in a very commanding position. His army supply, my army supply being 15 against his 120. So again, thought I might be able to pull off another miracle. I do get a Predator here. So the Predator Annihilator is an anti-vehicle, so I was like, okay, maybe this can like kind of do some good damage. And you can see it has 67 armor piercing damage, but I was hoping it could do some good work against his, his large units. And I actually do get a Whirlwind up here, which is very cool. Just a pro tip, guys, they suck. In my opinion, Whirlwinds suck. They're terrible. So don't bother with them. So we have our final fight here. So you can see I get a little bit of a good engagement, but you can see those Wraith Blades literally like one-shot my tank. So I probably should have just stuck with infantry. But Gabriel front Flipolo is doing his best job in here, kind of poking these guys down. And I do have some very healthy las fire on these guys. But unfortunately, he does have the Eldritch Storm. But you can see I do get this Whirlwind Bombardment here. So it hits these guys, but I mean, it hits those guys, right? So you see the damage it does. And I do drop another Death Storm right here. So it's doing a bunch of AoE damage, kind of shooting all these guys. But with that Wraith Knight up here, I can't really do much. But this drop pod can be really good in some situations. But I was experimenting with it. It might not have been worth the requisition, at this point in the game, but I have won games with it before. So the Elder Storm doing good work. Look at the cooldown on this thing. It's pretty terrible. I mean, it does a little bit of work. I should have just built like another tank or a few more groups of infantry, but just in my opinion, I don't think it's that great. But if you guys have had different experiences, go ahead and let me know below. And, that's it. So very well played to my opponent. At this point, it was pretty much over. He just pushes in with his Wraith Knight. I get a little bit of bombardment, but for the most part, he had been ahead for far too long. I had a little bit of a chance of coming back, but, for the most part, he had really secured the map. Very well played to my opponent. That was probably only my second game against Eldar, so I really didn't know what to expect from them, but now I kind of feel I have a better idea. And, man, that was a really fun game, though. I had a blast. Like, the Venerable Dreadnought was cool, but I definitely like the Assault Terminators quite a bit more. Just the teleport's really nice. The Dreadnought, you kind of have to waddle around, whereas the Terminators, they can kind of, like, teleport into enemy troops. They have an AoE slam, but the Dreadnought's focus fire is pretty good as well, so. But anyways, very well played my opponent. Really appreciate the match. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that one. Let me know if you guys want to see more Dawn of War 3 content. The games can be pretty long. They can be very balls deep, which is great. I thought the game was very tilty at first in the beta, but when you play against pretty good players, like, it's back and forth. Every game I've had for like the past like few days, granted I haven't played that many, have been extremely back and forth. Like, I go in, like, I'm winning, I'm losing, I'm winning, I'm losing. We're ninjaing each other's points in the back. And, it makes for some pretty fun gameplay. So, yeah, something I wanted to show you guys really quick. So if we go to Elites, the reason I played the Venerable Dreadnought is because he has this. So if we go to his tactics, you can see he gets the Venerable Dreadnought's command, Assault Leap. So it gives your Assault Marines the ability to do a low flying attack, which is, it's incredible. They fly low, they like chop the heads off dudes, and I can actually show it to you guys right now. So let's go ahead and do that before I forget. So if we go to, yeah, the army things here, let's go ahead and click on, where is this bad boy? I know it's over here somewhere. Just give me 1 second, guys. Bear with me. Is it towards the end? I know, I should be able to find this pretty quick. So, and we click on info, so check this out, guys. So, they do a low flying attack. So instead of flying high, they go low. They go like fast and low, and they can like, it's so good against Eldar. So I'm trying to unlock it yet. I don't have it yet. You need to play the Venerable Dreadnought to get it. So it is what it is, guys. But again, thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed that Space Marines vs. Eldar cast. And guys, more content coming soon.